Kai looked down at the strange world beneath him. From the spaceship window, Xerania stretched out like a painting. The forests glowed with soft blue and green light, rivers sparkled like flowing crystals, and in the distance, the floating cities drifted above the ground like islands in the sky. Humans had only heard about Xerania from old reports, but seeing it now made Kai's heart beat faster. He had traveled many light years to reach this planet, and everything he saw was more beautiful than he had imagined. The landing pad was enormous, shaped like a spiral and made from a shimmering metal that seemed alive. As Kai's ship touched the surface, the ground beneath hummed gently. The doors opened, and he stepped out, feeling the alien air on his skin. It smelled like a mix of flowers and minerals, fresh but unusual. Kai adjusted his bag, which carried supplies, research tools, and a small communicator. He was here to study Xerania, its energy sources, and the way the people lived. As he walked toward the city, he noticed figures moving among the buildings. They were taller than humans, with slender bodies and smooth skin that reflected the light of the glowing plants. Their eyes were large and bright, and their movements were graceful, almost as if they were floating rather than walking. Kai felt a mix of awe and caution. He had trained for situations like this, but nothing prepared him for meeting an intelligent alien species for the first time. Among the aliens, one figure stood out. She was taller than the others, with shimmering hair that changed colors depending on the angle of the light. Her eyes were golden, filled with curiosity and intelligence. She wore a long robe with patterns that looked like flowing water, and she walked with a calm authority. Kai did not know her name yet, but he sensed immediately that she was important. Later, he would learn she was the princess of Xerania, but for now, she remained a figure of fascination. Kai's first steps in the city were cautious. He observed the floating platforms, the bridges of light, and the machines that hovered silently above the ground. He took notes on everything he saw, carefully recording the energy patterns and environmental structures. He wanted to understand Xerania before interacting too closely with its people. He had learned that rushing into relationships with alien species could be dangerous, and he did not want to make mistakes. The princess, meanwhile, watched Kai from a distance. She had seen many visitors come to Xerania, but humans were rare. Most visitors ignored the locals and focused only on the wonders of the planet. But this human, Kai, was different. He did not stare at the city in amazement, nor did he rush to touch everything he saw. He walked calmly, observing carefully, and sometimes paused to record information in a small device he carried. This behavior puzzled her. Most humans were impulsive, but Kai seemed thoughtful and patient. She felt a growing curiosity about him. Kai moved toward a garden of glowing plants. He knelt to examine a flower with soft blue petals. The plant responded to his touch by opening slightly and releasing a gentle light. He smiled, noting the interaction in his device. To Kai, this was just part of the research, but to the princess, it looked like a sign of respect. Humans often did not notice the subtle reactions of alien life, but Kai did. This observation increased her curiosity. The streets of the city were busy. Aliens moved gracefully, talking in soft musical tones. Some floated in small vehicles, while others walked with tools or instruments in their hands. Kai kept to the paths, careful not to disturb anything. He noticed a fountain that emitted light instead of water. He approached it and measured its energy output. The fountain's glow reacted to his presence, shifting colors from blue to green. Kai recorded the readings, fascinated. A group of young aliens noticed him and whispered among themselves. They had never seen a human before, and they were excited and cautious. Kai smiled politely at them but did not engage further. He did not want to draw too much attention yet. His goal was observation first, interaction later. The princess approached the central plaza. She moved with quiet confidence, and as she passed Kai, their eyes met. Kai felt a strange awareness, as if her gaze carried questions and understanding at the same time. He did not stop, did not speak, but continued his observations. The princess was intrigued by his calm demeanor. He did not look impressed or frightened, and that was unusual. Most beings, alien or human, reacted emotionally when first seeing her, but Kai remained composed. Kai's communicator beeped softly. A message from the spaceship reminded him of his schedule. He had to visit the energy labs and study the floating orbs. He noted the locations on his map and started walking toward the next area. The princess decided to follow him, not too closely, but enough to remain unseen. She wanted to understand why he behaved this way. Why did he stay calm? Why did he not try to impress or avoid her? As Kai entered the lab area, he noticed complex machines that hovered and rotated in the air. He activated his scanner and began measuring energy outputs. He worked quietly, focused on the data. He noticed a strange resonance in one of the orbs and leaned closer, recording precise measurements. His dedication impressed the princess silently. Few beings had the patience to study such details. Hours passed. The sun on Zirania never fully set, but the light shifted in color from soft green to gentle purple. Kai finished his observations for the day and returned to the landing pad. He did not stop to speak to anyone, not even the princess, who had followed him discreetly. He had learned much, but he needed to process the information before interacting. The princess watched him leave, her golden eyes thoughtful. She had expected curiosity, surprise, or fear, but Kai had none of these. He had a calm mind and steady actions. She had many questions, but she could not find the answers yet. Why did he stay away from her? Why did he focus on the world instead of her presence? These questions filled her mind as Kai's ship lifted into the air and disappeared among the glowing clouds. As night approached, the princess returned to the palace. She could not stop thinking about Kai. His patience, intelligence, and composure were unusual for a human. She wondered what he would do next and whether he would return. She did not yet know that this human would change the course of Zirania's history, nor that their meeting was only the first step of something greater. Kai, aboard his ship, looked back at the glowing world below. He felt a quiet excitement. Zirania was more than a planet to study. Its people, its energy, and its mysteries fascinated him. He knew that to understand this world fully, he had to be patient and observant. He did not yet know that the princess was watching him, waiting for a reason that would make their first meeting unforgettable. The morning sun of Zirania painted the floating cities in soft golden and purple hues. Kai had returned to the planet, determined to continue his research. He moved carefully through the streets, recording data on the unique energy patterns that flowed through the city. Today, however, he noticed something different. Banners hung between the buildings, glowing softly, and lights flickered in rhythmic patterns along the walkways. The city was preparing for the Festival of Lights, an event he had read about but never imagined witnessing. The festival was the most important celebration on Zirania. Aliens from all over the planet gathered in the central plaza to showcase their skills, inventions, and artistry. Energy orbs floated above the streets, projecting holographic images that danced in the air. Bridges of light connected floating platforms, and the scent of glowing flowers filled the air. Kai paused for a moment, recording the scene in his notebook. Even though he was here to study the energy, he could not deny the beauty of the festival. Nira, the princess, stood atop a platform overlooking the city. Her golden eyes sparkled with excitement. She had expected visitors, but she had not expected Kai to return so soon. She remembered how calm and observant he had been the previous day, and she wanted to see if he would behave the same way during the festival. Most humans would be overwhelmed by the lights and crowds, but Kai had shown a quiet intelligence that intrigued her. Kai moved through the plaza, careful not to disturb the participants. He observed the floating machines that performed intricate dances in the air, and he recorded their energy output. He noticed the reactions of the crowd, the subtle changes in the light orbs, and the way the platforms shifted gently in response to weight. Everything was carefully designed, and Kai admired the thoughtfulness behind it. The princess watched him from her position, wondering why he avoided the main festivities. She had expected curiosity, perhaps even fear or awe, but Kai moved calmly, focused on observation rather than entertainment. She had approached many visitors in the past, but few had ignored her presence so completely. It was unusual, and it fascinated her. Kai noticed a group of young aliens performing with small energy spheres. They created patterns in the air that glowed like stars. He knelt to measure the energy flow in one of the spheres, carefully noting the changes as the performer moved. The young aliens glanced at him curiously, then returned to their performance. Kai did not speak, did not draw attention, but continued his work. Meanwhile, Nira descended from her platform. She wanted to see him up close without alarming him. She moved gracefully among the crowd, her robes flowing like liquid light. As she approached, Kai did not notice her immediately. He was focused on a machine that hovered above the plaza, projecting holographic maps of energy lines. Nira stopped near him, watching silently. When Kai finally looked up, he noticed her presence. He did not startle or step back. Instead, he gave a polite nod. Nira's golden eyes widened slightly. Few humans greeted her without awe or hesitation. She spoke softly, asking why he stayed away from the festivities. Kai replied calmly that he needed to observe before participating. He explained that understanding the people and their environment was more important than entertainment. His words were simple, but the honesty behind them silenced Nira. Nira smiled faintly. She had not expected such a reason. Most visitors would have made excuses or flattered her. Kai's answer was straightforward, and she found it refreshing. She decided to let him continue his observations, curious to see what he would discover next. As the festival continued, the city's energy orbs began to react to the excitement in the crowd. They shifted colors, creating waves of light that moved with the music of the aliens. Kai measured the fluctuations carefully, recording each change. He noticed that the energy flow increased near the central platform, where the most skilled performers showcased their abilities. The energy was not just decoration, it was a living part of the city's culture. Nira observed him closely. She wondered if he understood the connection between energy and life on Zirania. Humans often studied technology without appreciating its role in culture, but Kai's focus suggested that he did. She felt a quiet respect growing inside her. This human did not merely study, he sought understanding. The festival reached its peak when a group of elder aliens released a large energy orb into the sky. It floated above the city, glowing with all colors of the spectrum. The crowd cheered, and the lights of the floating platforms intensified in response. Kai measured the energy levels carefully, noting that the orb's presence created a resonance throughout the city. he realized that the festival was not only celebration but also a test of harmony between people and technology. Nira approached him again, curious about his reaction. "Most humans would be amazed or frightened," she said softly. "Why do you remain calm?" Kai looked at her and replied, "I have seen many wonders in my travels. I focus on understanding them first. Emotions come later." Nero was struck by his words. They were simple, but they carried a depth that few beings expressed. She realized that this human had a patience and intelligence that set him apart. Kai noticed a small malfunction in one of the floating platforms. Without hesitation, he moved forward and adjusted a control panel, stabilizing the platform. The performers continued without noticing the danger, and the crowd remained safe. Nira's eyes widened. Humans were not known for such quick thinking in alien environments. She felt admiration for Kai, though she did not express it openly. As the festival began to wind down, Kai recorded his final measurements and prepared to return to his ship. He had learned much about the energy systems of Zirania and the connection between the people and their environment. Nira followed him silently, still curious about his calm demeanor. She had expected him to leave immediately, but he paused to observe the city one last time, as if committing every detail to memory. Kai looked at the glowing rivers, the floating bridges, and the gentle hum of energy throughout the city. He felt a quiet satisfaction. Zirania was more than a subject of study, it was a living world with intelligence and beauty. Nira realized that Kai's avoidance of the main festivities was not disrespect, but careful observation. He wanted to understand before interacting, a quality she had rarely seen. As night fell, the lights of the city reflected in the sky like stars. Kai returned to his ship, but he glanced back at the princess standing on a platform, her golden eyes watching him silently. Neither spoke, but a silent understanding passed between them. Kai respected her presence, and Nira respected his patience and intelligence. In the quiet of his ship, Kai reviewed his notes and data. The festival had revealed much about the culture, energy systems, and people of Zirania. Yet he knew there was more to learn. He wondered about the princess, her role in the society, and the mysteries that she represented. He had chosen to stay away, not out of fear, but to see the truth of the world before forming connections. Nira, alone in the palace, could not stop thinking about the human who had observed without distraction, acted without hesitation, and remained calm amidst the festival's wonders. She had many questions, but for the first time, she felt that a human could provide answers without rushing or seeking personal gain. She wondered what he would discover next, and what he might teach her about patience, strength, and understanding. Kai moved carefully through the glowing forest on Zirania. He had left the city early in the morning to study the energy patterns of the plants and streams in the outskirts. The forest was alive with soft lights and gentle hums that seemed to respond to movement. Every step Kai took was measured. He wanted to observe the world fully, without disturbing it. His eyes recorded details that most would overlook: the pulse of the energy in the trees, the shimmer of small creatures that moved silently, and the way the streams reflected the glowing sky. Nira had followed him quietly from the city. She had watched him during the Festival of Lights and could not understand why a human would avoid interaction when most visitors sought attention and approval. Today, she moved carefully through the forest, her golden eyes focused on Kai. She wanted to see him up close, to understand his calm, and to discover why he chose to stay distant. Kai reached a small grove where the light from the trees formed a natural dome above him. He knelt beside a cluster of blue flowers that emitted soft glows when touched. He measured the energy from the plants, noting the changes as he gently moved the petals. He was absorbed in his work, unaware that Nira had stepped closer, hiding behind a large luminous fern. Nira watched him silently for a while. She noticed the careful way he observed, the respect he showed for the living things, and the attention to detail that went beyond mere research. It was unusual for humans to be so patient. Most rushed or tried to impress. But Kai was different. She stepped forward slightly, making a faint sound as a leaf shifted under her foot. Kai looked up immediately, his eyes meeting hers. There was no surprise or fear in his expression, only calm recognition. Nero was taken aback. Few beings met her gaze without reaction, but Kai did not flinch. He simply nodded politely and returned to his measurements. The princess realized that he was not ignoring her, but acknowledging her presence without distraction. "You move carefully, human," Nira said softly, stepping closer. "Most would rush through this forest, unable to see what is here." Kai straightened and looked at her calmly. "I want to understand before I act," he replied. "This forest, the plants, the energy, everything has a purpose. I need to see it clearly before I interfere." Nira studied him silently. His answer was simple, yet it carried thoughtfulness she had rarely seen. Most humans spoke without depth, reacting to immediate surroundings. Kai's words showed patience, intelligence, and respect for life. She felt a mixture of curiosity and admiration. "I have watched you," she said after a pause. "During the festival, you did not join the others. You avoided attention. Why?" Kai considered her question carefully. "I need to understand the people and the world first. If I act without knowledge, I might cause harm. Observation comes before interaction." Nero was silent. His answer was unexpected. Few beings admitted such honesty. She had expected excuses or evasions, but Kai spoke simply and clearly. She felt a quiet respect for him growing inside her. This human did not seek approval or recognition. He sought truth. The forest around them seemed to respond to their presence. The soft lights of the trees shifted gently, and the energy in the flowers pulsed as if recognizing Kai's careful touch. He smiled faintly and made notes in his device. Nira noticed the way he worked, how he did not disturb anything more than necessary. He was not only intelligent but thoughtful. "I have never met a human like you," Nira admitted. "Most of your kind rush into danger or admiration. You observe first. You wait. Why?" Kai looked up at the glowing canopy. "Because understanding is stronger than impulse. Strength without knowledge can be dangerous. I want to act wisely." Nira thought about his words. They were simple, but they carried meaning that resonated with her own responsibilities. As a princess, she had to make decisions for her people, and she realized that she often acted under pressure. Kai's patience and clarity were admirable. She felt a connection forming, even though they had just met. A soft sound drew their attention. A small creature, glowing like the flowers, moved between the trees. Kai observed it carefully, noting its behavior and energy signature. Nero watched how he interacted with the creature. He did not try to capture or harm it. He simply recorded and respected its presence. "You respect life," Nero said quietly. "Even in small forms." Kai nodded. "All life matters. Every being has its purpose and place. To understand one part, I must respect the whole." The princess felt a warmth she did not expect. His words were honest, yet powerful. They reflected a mindset that few beings possessed. She realized that humans, despite being small compared to Zirania's energy and technology, could think with clarity and patience. This was a strength her people rarely saw in visitors. Kai packed his devices carefully, preparing to move deeper into the forest. "There is more to study," he said. "The streams and rocks have patterns that connect to the energy in the city. I need to understand them." Nira decided to follow him openly this time. She walked beside him, careful not to startle him. "I will accompany you," she said. "If you wish, I can guide you through areas that are dangerous for strangers." Kai considered her offer. He did not fully trust anyone yet, but he sensed honesty in her words. "Very well," he replied. "I will accept guidance, but I need to maintain observation." The two moved together through the forest. Nira pointed out areas where the energy was unstable or where the terrain could shift unexpectedly. Kai noted her guidance, integrating it with his own observations. He admired her knowledge of her world, and she admired his careful approach and focus. Together, they moved in harmony, neither dominating nor following, but working side by side. As the day progressed, Kai discovered small energy conduits hidden under the forest floor. He observed how they connected to the streams and glowing plants above. Nira explained that these conduits were part of the life support system of the planet, a network that kept energy flowing and maintained balance. Kai recorded everything carefully, impressed by the complexity and beauty of Zirania's design. By evening, they reached a small waterfall where light flowed down the rocks in a soft rainbow glow. Kai knelt to examine the energy there, and Nira watched silently. "You have a different way of seeing things," she said. "Most visitors would miss all of this." Kai looked up. "I do not just see. I observe. I listen to the world before I speak." Nira nodded, realizing that this human strength was not in power or skill alone, but in patience, attention, and understanding. For the first time, she felt that a human could match the wisdom of her people, not through force, but through thought. The sun dipped lower, casting a soft glow across the forest. Kai prepared to return to the city, but Nira stopped him. "Tomorrow, I will show you the ancient energy stones," she said. "They hold secrets that even most of my people do not fully understand." Kai looked at her calmly. "I will come. Understanding comes with time and careful study." Nira smiled faintly. She had no words to respond. His answer was simple, yet it carried a depth that silenced her. For the first time, she realized that humans were not just small and fragile. They could be wise, patient, and strong in ways her people rarely expected. As they parted for the night, the forest seemed to glow brighter, as if acknowledging their meeting. Kai returned to his temporary shelter, reviewing the data he had collected. Nira returned to the palace, thinking about the calm, observant human who had chosen patience over impulse. Both knew that their meeting was only the beginning, and that something important had started, even if neither fully understood it yet. The morning air on Zirania was calm, but an unusual tension lingered in the floating city. Kai had returned from his study in the forest, eager to continue his observations of the planet's energy. He moved quietly along the bridges of light, recording data on the floating platforms and energy conduits that connected the city. He noticed small fluctuations in the energy flow, patterns that were subtle but unusual. Something in the city was out of balance. Nira observed from a high platform in the palace. She had been following Kai's research and training him in small ways, guiding him through parts of the city that few outsiders could access. Today, she sensed a change in the energy patterns herself. The flow of energy through the city felt disrupted, as if someone or something had interfered. Her golden eyes scanned the horizon, alert to the faintest signs of danger. Kai paused near a hovering energy orb, analyzing the readings from his instruments. The numbers were unexpected. The energy in the northern sectors of the city was fluctuating rapidly. He frowned and adjusted the device. The readings confirmed his suspicion. There was an external disturbance, one that could threaten the balance of the floating city. Nira approached him silently. "I feel it too," she said. "Something is wrong in the northern sectors. The energy is unstable." Kai nodded. "It could be a natural anomaly, or it could be intentional. We need to investigate carefully." The two moved swiftly toward the northern districts. The streets were quieter than usual. Citizens moved with purpose, their attention focused on the buildings and pathways. Kai noticed subtle signs of disruption, platforms that shifted unexpectedly, energy lines that pulsed irregularly, and small flickers of light that danced in unusual patterns. As they approached the center of the disturbance, a sudden roar echoed through the city. A group of raiders, outsiders from a nearby system, had arrived. They were equipped with fast ships and energy weapons, aiming to steal the city's energy resources. Citizens fled in panic, and some floating platforms began to tilt dangerously. Kai acted quickly. He scanned the energy flows around the raiders and realized he could use the city's own energy systems to counter them. "Nira, guide me to the control nodes," he said. "I can stabilize the platforms and create barriers to slow them down." Nira led him through hidden pathways only she knew, moving swiftly and silently. She watched as Kai analyzed the energy nodes, connecting his portable instruments to the city's systems. His fingers moved quickly, adjusting flows, redirecting power, and creating shields around the vulnerable areas. Citizens stared in amazement as the platforms stabilized and energy barriers rose between them and the raiders. The raiders fired their energy beams, but Kai anticipated their movements. He rerouted the energy pulses, deflecting attacks and using the floating platforms as shields. His human ingenuity amazed Nira. She had seen skilled aliens handle crises, but Kai's ability to understand and manipulate systems he had never encountered before was extraordinary. One of the raiders attempted to breach a central platform, where energy reserves were stored. Kai focused his instruments and redirected the power to create a protective shield. The raider's attack bounced harmlessly off the barrier, and the ship was forced to retreat. Citizens cheered quietly, but Nira remained focused on Kai. She could see the concentration in his eyes, the way he thought several steps ahead, and she realized that his calm demeanor was not passivity, it was preparation and strategy. As the battle continued, Kai noticed that the raiders were adapting. They changed their approach, aiming to disrupt the city's energy nodes directly. He signaled to Nira, who understood immediately. Together, they moved to the main energy hub, coordinating their actions. Nira adjusted the city's internal energy flows, while Kai used his technology to create temporary conduits and shields. The teamwork was seamless, even though they had only known each other a short time. The raiders realized they could not overpower the city. They attempted one final strike on the central hub, but Kai anticipated it. He activated a series of energy deflectors that sent the attackers' own beams back toward their ships. The raiders, caught off guard, were forced to retreat in confusion. The city's energy stabilized, and the platforms returned to their normal positions. Citizens began to emerge from hiding. They looked at Kai with awe and gratitude. Nira approached him, her golden eyes reflecting both relief and admiration. "You saved the city," she said softly. "I have seen courage before, but this was different. You used thought, observation, and strategy. You did not act blindly. Kai shook his head humbly. I only did what was necessary. The city and its people are remarkable. They deserve protection, and I used what I knew to help. Nira studied him silently. Few humans had ever impressed her so much. Most relied on strength or speed, but Kai relied on understanding, patience, and intelligence. She realized that his decision to stay distant before interacting had not been disrespect, it had been preparation. He had wanted to see the true strengths and weaknesses of the people before choosing how to act. The citizens began to gather around. They were curious about Kai, the human who had saved their city without hesitation. Nira introduced him carefully, explaining his role and the quick thinking that had prevented disaster. People approached Kai, asking questions, offering thanks, and studying his devices. He answered politely, focusing on the principles and methods he had used rather than personal recognition. As evening fell, the city resumed its normal glow. Lights returned to their soft, steady rhythm, and the floating platforms moved gently in harmony. Kai and Nira stood together, observing the restored balance. You have a rare quality, Nira said finally. Most beings act first and think later. You think first, and that gives you strength. Kai smiled faintly. Strength without understanding can be dangerous. I want to help, not harm. Patience and observation are as important as action. Nira nodded. She realized that humans, though physically smaller than her people, could possess a power that was often underestimated, a power of mind, patience, and careful reasoning. Kai had shown her that true courage was not just in fighting, but in understanding, preparing, and acting wisely. The night settled over the floating city. Citizens returned to their homes, still whispering about the human who had saved them. Kai reviewed his data, noting patterns in the raiders' attacks and the energy disturbances. He wanted to understand everything, to learn from the event, and to be ready should danger return. Nira stood beside him, silent but thoughtful. She had witnessed not only his skill but also his character. He had chosen to stay distant before acting, not out of fear, but out of careful thought. She felt respect, curiosity, and something more she could not yet name. The human had shown her a way of thinking that was rare, even among her people. As they parted for the night, Nira returned to the palace, thinking about the human and the lessons he had taught through action. Kai returned to his temporary shelter, reviewing the data he had collected during the attack. Both knew that this encounter had changed something fundamental. The human had proven himself, and the princess had begun to see that patience, intelligence, and courage were as powerful as any energy or weapon on Zirania. The city of Zirania glowed softly in the morning light. The aftermath of the raider attack had left citizens busy with repairs, but a sense of calm had returned. Kai walked through the streets, observing the floating platforms and energy conduits to ensure everything remained stable. He carried his instruments, recording energy readings and noting minor fluctuations caused by the previous day's chaos. Every step he took was careful, deliberate, showing his usual patience and precision. Nira followed him quietly. She had spent the night thinking about the human who had acted so decisively during the attack. He had not sought glory, nor had he been reckless. Instead, he had combined intelligence, observation, and courage in a way few beings could. She wanted to understand him better, and she felt that being near him, even silently, could teach her something valuable. Kai paused near a cluster of glowing trees. Their energy had been disturbed slightly during the battle, and he knelt to record the readings. Nira approached and stood beside him, her presence calm but noticeable. She had not spoken yet, allowing him space to work, but her golden eyes watched every movement. "You did not speak much during the attack," she said finally. "Most leaders would have shouted orders. Most warriors would have acted impulsively. Why did you remain calm and quiet?" Kai looked up at her. "Shouting does not always lead to correct action. Impulsiveness can cause mistakes. I wanted to observe and understand the situation before acting. That way, every action could help, not harm." Nero was silent for a moment. His words were simple, yet they carried meaning she had not expected. Many visitors relied on their instincts, but Kai relied on reasoning. She realized that his calmness was not just personality, it was strength. "You are different from other humans," she said softly. "I have seen humans in stories, in history, but none have behaved like you. You think before you act. You observe, you learn, and you wait. That is unusual." Kai smiled faintly. "I have traveled to many worlds. Observation is necessary to survive and understand. Impulse can be dangerous when you face unknown situations." Nira nodded slowly. She began to see why he had stayed distant before interacting. It was not disinterest or fear. It was patience and respect. He had chosen to learn about the world and its people before forming connections. That choice, she realized, spoke louder than words. They walked together through the city, moving to the energy hub. Citizens greeted Nero with respect and gratitude, and many looked at Kai with curiosity. The human who had saved the city had earned their admiration, though Kai did not seek it. He simply focused on his observations, ensuring the city's systems remained stable. "Most beings would have expected you to act for recognition," Nira said as they walked. "You did not. Why?" Kai paused to adjust a small energy conduit. "Recognition is not the goal. The city and its people are important. Protecting them is the goal. Praise is not necessary if the task is done correctly." Nero felt a quiet respect for him. His humility, combined with intelligence and courage, created a presence that was rare and powerful. She realized that humans could possess qualities beyond physical strength, qualities that could rival even the most skilled Xeranians. They reached a quiet garden near the palace, a place where citizens came to relax and study the energy flows of plants and streams. Kai knelt to examine a small stream, measuring how the water carried energy throughout the garden. Nero watched silently, observing his careful methods. "You notice things that others miss," she said softly. "The stream, the plants, the smallest fluctuations. You see patterns that many would overlook." Kai nodded. "Patterns are everywhere. Energy connects all life. Understanding those connections helps in making decisions that are correct and safe. I want to see the truth, not just the surface." Nira considered his words. Humans often relied on instinct or emotion, but Kai relied on observation and thought. She realized that this was why he had stayed distant, why he had not rushed into interactions with her or her people. His choice was deliberate. It was a sign of respect for the world, for life, and for the people of Xerania. "You have earned my respect," Nira said finally. "Not because of your actions alone, but because of the way you think. You value understanding, patience, and integrity. Those are rare qualities." Kai looked at her calmly. "Respect is earned through action and thought. I do not expect it, but I value it when given honestly." Nira felt a warmth inside her, a quiet bond forming without words. She realized that their connection was not based on admiration alone, nor on titles or status. It was built on mutual understanding and respect. The human's patience, intelligence, and humility had spoken to her in ways no speech could. They moved through the garden together, observing the plants and energy flows. Kai noted small disturbances from the previous day's attack and adjusted them carefully. Nira assisted, guiding him to areas where her people had noticed changes. Their teamwork was silent, efficient, and effective. Neither dominated the other, yet both contributed to restoring harmony. "You work well with others," Nira said quietly. "Not by leading, but by understanding. That is a rare skill, even among my people." Kai smiled faintly. "Understanding is the foundation of trust. Acting without it can destroy more than it saves." Nira realized that this human had shown her a new way of thinking. Courage was important, but so was patience. Strength was valuable, but so was wisdom. Kai had demonstrated that true power was not measured by size, skill, or force, but by the ability to see clearly, think carefully, and act responsibly. As the sun set over Zirania, casting golden and purple hues across the city, they paused to look at the glowing lights of the floating platforms. Citizens moved calmly below, unaware of the precise adjustments Kai had made to ensure stability. Nira felt a sense of peace. She had observed many leaders, warriors, and scholars, but none had impressed her as much as this human. "You are different," she said softly. "And yet, I feel we can trust each other. Not because we know everything about one another, but because we understand what is important." Kai looked at her with quiet acknowledgement. Trust is built through observation, understanding, and consistency. We have seen each other act honestly and carefully. That is the beginning of trust. Nira nodded. She felt that their bond, silent yet strong, had begun. Words were not necessary to communicate the respect and understanding that had formed between them. The human had chosen patience, observation, and integrity over impulse, and that choice had spoken louder than any declaration. As night fell, the glowing city reflected in the streams and lights of the garden. Kai returned to his temporary shelter, reviewing the data he had collected. Nira returned to the palace, thinking about the human who had saved the city, acted wisely, and earned her silent admiration. Both knew that their bond had grown, and that their understanding of each other would shape the events to come on Zirania. The day ended with a quiet acknowledgement between them, a silent bond built on respect, courage, and intelligence. They had seen each other in action, observed one another's character, and recognized the strength in patience and thought. This connection, unspoken yet powerful, marked the beginning of something important, a foundation for trust, understanding, and perhaps more in the days ahead. The morning light on Zirania glimmered across the floating city, casting soft reflections on the energy orbs that hovered gently in the air. Kai walked through the streets with his instruments, noting minor fluctuations in the energy systems. His observations were precise, careful, and deliberate. Every reading, every measurement helped him understand the intricate balance that kept the city alive. Nira approached him quietly. Her golden eyes reflected the morning glow as she spoke softly. "Kai, I want to show you something," she said. "It is important, but it requires trust." Kai looked up calmly. "I am ready," he replied. He had come to understand that Nira valued patience and clarity as much as he did, and he trusted her judgment. She led him through hidden passages beneath the city, areas rarely seen by ordinary citizens. The walls glowed faintly with flowing energy lines, and the air hummed with a gentle resonance. Kai observed the energy closely, noting how it responded to their movement. Nira walked with quiet confidence, guiding him carefully toward their destination. At last, they reached a chamber hidden beneath the palace. The door shimmered with energy, and Kai noticed symbols etched along its frame. Nira placed her hand on the panel, and the symbols glowed, opening the entrance to reveal a large room. Inside, a single energy core floated above a pedestal. Its glow was steady and intense, and the air around it vibrated softly. "This is the ancient energy core," Nira explained. "It is older than the city itself and holds the power that stabilizes Zirania. Few of my people have seen it, and even fewer understand it." Kai studied the core carefully. Its energy was unlike anything he had measured before. The patterns were complex, yet harmonious, connecting with the city and its people in a network that was both living and technological. He moved closer, analyzing the flow and resonance. "It is magnificent," he said softly. "I have never seen energy structured like this. It connects life, technology, and balance in ways I cannot fully explain yet." Nira observed him closely. She could see that he understood more than most outsiders could. His attention to detail, his careful measurements, and his calm composure reassured her. She decided it was time to test the trust she had begun to place in him. "The core must be maintained carefully," she said. "Any disturbance can affect the city. I need you to help me stabilize it while I adjust the surrounding conduits." Kai nodded. "I understand. Show me what to do, and I will follow your instructions precisely." Nira guided him to a console beside the pedestal. She explained how the core connected to energy nodes throughout the city, and how small changes could create stability or instability. Kai listened carefully, asking questions when necessary, and recording every detail. His methodical approach impressed her. He did not rush, and he did not act without understanding. Together, they worked in silence, communicating through gestures and concise words. Nira adjusted the conduits while Kai monitored the core, ensuring that the energy remained balanced. The air vibrated with the intensity of the power, yet neither faltered. Each movement, each adjustment, required precision, and they coordinated flawlessly. At one point, a surge in the core caused a brief spike in energy. Kai reacted quickly, redirecting the flow to a secondary node, stabilizing the system. Nira's eyes widened slightly in admiration. Few outsiders, and even fewer humans, could respond to such energy patterns with accuracy and calm. Kai's actions demonstrated his understanding, intelligence, and steady nerves. "You are remarkable," Nira said quietly. "I did not expect you to adapt so quickly. Most beings would panic at this energy." Kai shook his head calmly. "Observation and preparation prevent panic. Understanding the system allows correct action. Panic only creates mistakes." Nira smiled faintly. She realized that his patience and careful thinking were not just strengths, they were qualities that complemented her own knowledge and experience. Together, they were more effective than either could be alone. Hours passed as they continued their work. The energy core responded to their adjustments, and the city's systems remained stable. Citizens outside the palace were unaware of the delicate balancing act taking place beneath them. Kai and Nira moved with precision, their actions silent but powerful. Finally, the core stabilized fully. Its glow became steady, and the vibrations in the room softened. Nira stepped back, watching Kai with a quiet sense of respect and admiration. "You have done well," she said. "I trusted you, and you proved that my trust was not misplaced." Kai smiled faintly. "Trust is earned through understanding and action. I respect your confidence, and I hope my work has honored it." Nira nodded. She felt that their silent bond had deepened. It was not based on words alone, nor on recognition or titles. It was built on observation, respect, and shared purpose. Kai had chosen to act wisely, patiently, and effectively, and in doing so, he had earned her trust. "You see clearly," Nira said. "You do not rush, you do not act for praise, and yet you accomplish much. That is a rare strength, even among my people." Kai looked at her calmly. Strength is not only in power or skill. It is in understanding, patience, and careful action. That is what allows one to help without causing harm. Nira felt a quiet warmth as she watched him. His words, simple as they were, carried meaning she could feel. They reflected a mindset that combined courage, intelligence, and humility, qualities she had rarely seen in humans or her own people. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Nira guided Kai through hidden passages back to the surface. The city above was peaceful, the floating platforms moving in gentle harmony, and the energy orbs casting soft light. Citizens went about their day, unaware of the work that had preserved their home. Kai looked at the city thoughtfully. "This world is extraordinary," he said. "Its energy, its people, its balance, it is delicate yet strong. Maintaining it requires care and understanding." Nira nodded. "And you have shown that you understand. That is why I trust you. You do not act recklessly, and you value observation and thought. That makes you different, human." Kai smiled faintly. "I only wish to act correctly. Understanding comes before action. That is my choice." They paused on a bridge of light, overlooking the city. The floating platforms shimmered below, and the glow of the energy orbs reflected in the streams and trees. Nira felt a deep respect and quiet admiration for the human beside her. He had proven himself not only through action but through thought and patience. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met," she said softly. "Few humans, few beings, would approach life this way. You have shown courage, intelligence, and respect. That is why I trust you." Kai nodded calmly. "Trust is mutual. I observe, I learn, I act carefully. You showed confidence in me, and I honor that by acting correctly." As night fell, the lights of Zirania reflected in the streams and orbs, creating a soft glow across the city. Kai returned to his temporary shelter, reviewing the data he had collected during the day. Nira returned to the palace, thinking about the human who had proven himself worthy of trust. Their bond, silent and powerful, had grown through understanding, shared purpose, and careful action. For the first time, Nira realized that humans could possess strengths beyond physical abilities, strengths of mind, patience, and integrity. Kai had demonstrated these qualities through observation, preparation, and action. Their partnership had begun, built on respect, trust, and the shared goal of protecting Zirania. Both knew that the ancient energy core had tested them not only in skill but in trust. They had succeeded together, and that success marked a turning point. Their bond, silent yet strong, would guide the days to come as challenges and discoveries awaited them on Zirania. The city of Zirania glimmered under a soft golden sky. The events of the previous days had left the city stronger, yet there remained an unspoken question in the minds of its citizens. Kai had been working quietly, reviewing energy data, adjusting systems, and observing the delicate balance of life and technology. Nira had been beside him, guiding and supporting him, yet she could not fully understand why the human had chosen to remain distant during their first meetings. This morning, Nira approached him at the central energy hub. Her golden eyes reflected the light of the energy orbs as she spoke softly. "Kai, today I want you to do something important. The core has been stabilized, but there is a final test. The energy system requires full activation. Will you do it? Kai looked at the glowing core calmly. I am ready. Full activation will allow me to understand the city completely and maintain its balance. Nira nodded. She explained the process carefully, detailing how the energy flows of the entire city were connected to the core. One mistake could destabilize not just the platforms but the life energy of every citizen. Kai listened intently, his eyes following the intricate patterns of the conduits and nodes. I understand the risk, he said quietly. I will act carefully and observe all reactions. This city deserves preservation, not destruction. Together, they approached the core. Nira guided him to the primary control panel, and Kai connected his instruments. The core glowed more brightly as he prepared to initiate the activation sequence. Streams of energy pulsed in response, flowing through conduits, platforms, and buildings. Citizens above moved calmly, unaware of the careful orchestration happening beneath them. As Kai activated the core, subtle fluctuations appeared. He studied them carefully, adjusting conduits and redirecting energy flows with precision. Nero watched in silence, her admiration growing. The human's focus and intelligence were extraordinary. He was not just strong or brave, he was patient, observant, and wise beyond what she had expected. A sudden surge caused a ripple through the system. Platforms shifted slightly, and a faint hum echoed through the city. Kai reacted instantly, analyzing the data and predicting the next fluctuation. He made adjustments with quiet confidence, stabilizing the energy before it could cause harm. Nira's golden eyes widened. Few beings, human or alien, could respond so quickly and accurately to such a complex system. You are remarkable, she said softly. I have seen skilled engineers and powerful leaders, but none can act with such understanding and calm. Kai shook his head gently. It is not power alone that matters. Observation, understanding, and careful action ensure success. Strength without thought can cause harm, even with the best intentions. Nira felt a quiet warmth in her chest. For days, she had wondered why he had stayed distant, avoiding attention, and observing carefully before engaging. Now, she understood. He had not acted out of fear or pride. He had acted out of respect for her, for the city, and for life itself. The energy core stabilized fully, glowing with a steady brilliance that illuminated the entire chamber. Platforms floated smoothly above, energy orbs glimmered in perfect rhythm, and the city resonated with life and harmony. Citizens began to notice the difference, sensing the balance restored throughout their home. Kai stepped back from the core, observing the patterns he had created. Every measurement confirmed stability. He turned to Nira and spoke calmly. The city is stable. The energy flows are balanced, and life will continue without disruption. I have acted with caution, observation, and precision. That is why I remained distant before interacting. I needed to understand the world fully before forming connections. Nira's eyes widened slightly. The truth was simple yet profound. His distance had been a choice of respect, not indifference. He had watched, learned, and prepared so that when action was needed, it would be correct, effective, and safe. You observed everything, she said softly. The city, its people, the energy. You waited until you understood before acting. That is extraordinary. Humans rarely think this way. Kai nodded calmly. Observation and understanding guide action. That is how I ensure my presence does not cause harm. Respect comes before engagement, knowledge before decision. That is my choice. Nira smiled faintly, feeling admiration and quiet awe. For the first time, she realized that humans, small as they might appear compared to the advanced technology and energy of Xerania, could possess strengths beyond physical power. Strength of mind, patience, understanding, and courage could surpass any weapon or skill. Kai had demonstrated that fully. "You have my respect, Kai," Nira said finally. "Not for your power, not for your actions alone, but for the wisdom and patience you carry. That is rarer than any skill in the city." Kai looked at her with calm acknowledgement. "Respect is earned through observation, understanding, and careful action. You trusted me with the city and its core. I honored that trust. That is all that matters." For a moment, they stood in silence, the glow of the energy core reflecting on their faces. The city hummed gently around them, alive and stable. Nira realized that the human had earned more than her respect. He had earned her trust, her admiration, and a sense of partnership that she had never expected from someone so different. "Your patience and understanding are as powerful as any energy system here," she said softly. "You teach me that strength comes not only from power, but from thought, care, and respect. I have learned much from you." Kai inclined his head. "And I have learned much from observing your people and your world. Trust and respect guide action. Courage alone is not enough. Together, thought and courage create stability." The glow of the core softened, radiating warmth throughout the chamber. Nero looked at Kai and realized that his choice to stay distant, observe, and understand had not only preserved the city, but it had also built a bond between them. A bond of trust, respect, and shared purpose. "Perhaps humans are not just small and fragile," she said quietly. "Perhaps you possess strengths we have underestimated." Kai smiled faintly. "Strength is not always measured in size or force. Understanding, patience, and correct action are powerful in their own way. That is what I offer." As they left the chamber together, the city above shimmered in harmony. Citizens moved with quiet confidence, unaware of the careful orchestration that had preserved their home. Nero walked beside Kai, feeling a sense of connection and quiet admiration. The bond formed through observation, trust, and shared purpose had grown stronger than words could express. For the first time, Nero truly understood the human. His calm demeanor, careful observation, and patient intelligence had been a choice, a strategy to act effectively when it mattered most. Kai had shown that humans could rise above assumptions and expectations, demonstrating courage, wisdom, and respect that few could match. They paused on a bridge of light, overlooking the city as the sun set in golden hues. Nira spoke softly. "You stayed away to understand. You acted carefully to protect. You taught me that strength is in thought, patience, and respect. That is why I trust you." Kai nodded calmly. "And I trust you because you guided me, shared knowledge, and allowed me to act. Trust is mutual, built through observation and understanding." The glow of Xerania reflected in the streams and lights below. Together, human and princess stood silently, bound by respect, understanding, and the knowledge that courage, intelligence, and patience could achieve what strength alone could not. In that moment, Nira realized that the human beside her was not just a visitor or protector. He was a teacher, a partner, and a friend. Kai had chosen to stay distant, observe, and understand, but in doing so, he had revealed the truth of his character. A truth that silenced doubt, earned respect, and inspired awe. The city continued to glow in harmony, the energy flowing steadily through every platform, stream, and conduit. Kai had proven that humans, though small and different, could possess the courage, intelligence, and patience to match even the greatest of civilizations. Nira knew that this bond, built through observation, trust, and action, would shape the future of Xerania, and their story was only beginning.